Hello, this is Steven Seifert. QuaranTune Virtual Dulcimer Fest 9.0 is February 2nd through the 5th. I want to run through real quick the classes I'm teaching in case you're interested. This first class is for absolute beginners, 5 things I wish I knew as a beginner. And I'm going to go through things like strumming. Watch this strum. This is a little strum I put to all the songs I play, and I want to make sure you can generate that fresh for whatever you're doing. It means you don't have to read it, you don't have to memorize it. It's fun to read things, it's educational to memorize things, but you should be able to at least have that strum going on. Very important. I'm going to talk 5 minutes about tuning. A lot of you have tuners, but you're not necessarily in tune. I want to talk about fingering, playing melodies maybe in a couple different places, and super basic chords. And I've actually got more than 5 things, but I'll make sure I hit you with 5 things. Next class up is for novice players. Novice is like beginners with some experience. And this one is my bare bones method for learning tunes fast. I'm going to walk you through the basics of how I listen to it, how I kind of hum along with my voice, and how I find them on the strings. But I'm also going to show you how to look at tablature and make sense of what's there and maybe look for the big obvious notes and not get distracted by all the details. You want to learn foundational basic versions of tunes first. And I'm going to show you how to extract versions like that out of everything you might come across. Next up is some intermediate classes. I've got a class called 3 capo tunes and plenty of capo tips. Capos let us play in other keys, but they also take what's easy about the dulcimer and they kind of shift that so that you're doing something really cool that's different than what you usually do, but also easy. So I want you to get this thing on successfully. I don't want you to be afraid of it. It makes our music more listenable and it makes it more fun for you. Also, intermediate, learn like grandma and grandpa did. And it depends on the grandma and grandpa, but of the techniques I'm going to show you, the most important one is how to watch hands. How to watch somebody strum, how to watch where they're fingering, and how to start kind of easing up next to the tune without having to get every single note. So, for instance, what am I playing here? Call out the fret numbers. Look close. One more time, call them out. And that's just the beginning. I'm going to give you hopefully some encouraging advice, but we'll also raise the complexity level a little bit. Still, for intermediates, this is Guide to Flat Picking Jam Tune Favorites. A lot of flat picking is thought of as being fancy. This is not going to be that. This is how do you take the tunes we normally play and just do them across the strings, picking one string at a time, usually not needing any fret higher than the third one. Here's a quick little example. Here's Angelina Baker. You know, how would you play that down here near the nut across the strings? And we're not just going to be flat picking. I'm going to show you how to throw strums in between the flat picking to make it sound cool. This is something that can throw you off if you start with the hard stuff. I want to start with the jam tunes we hear and know. Hopefully, know. You'll know them soon. Don't worry. And for my last just solid intermediate class, how to play melody and chords at the same time. And there's a fancy way to do it. We're not going to cover that. The fancy way usually involves 3 fingers. That kind of stuff. This is more of a minimal approach. I think it's really important to the way I play. And I learned this stuff from David Schnaufer, but there's usually one string ringing open. So here's an example of minimal chording with melody. And this doesn't require 3 fingers all the time. So whether you already know the 3-finger stuff or that's in your future, get this down. It's easier in the hand. It's beautiful sounding. I think you're going to like it. For upper intermediates, playable fancy tunes in the 1-3-5 tuning. If you're in DAD, you take the middle string down to an F sharp, melody string down to an A. It's kind of like DAA with an F sharp on the middle. We use this tuning when we want to play fancy tunes that use notes we don't usually have. Here's a little example. That's neat. So I've got a bunch of tunes. You might really like it. And finally, for advanced players, music of my mentor. My favorite dulcimer player of all time, David Schnaufer. It's hard to have a favorite, but man, he's certainly in the top 10, 5, 3. Okay, let's not go there. But really a great player, a great aggregate of some of the coolest dulcimer techniques and tunes, and a real philosopher of the instrument. But I'm going to walk you through a couple simple things, couple trickier things, and then some really masterclass stuff. And this is a 2-hour class, so that gives us plenty of time to really check out a number of tunes. Whatever classes you take with me, I think it's really important you know that I'm a little different. So I do love sight reading. If you can see the books on the shelf there, I've got a lot. And I do sometimes have to memorize things and do them as I am told. But much of the time, I like to take this instrument and wing it inside tight parameters. So I'm improvising the strum. I'm not reading or memorizing it. My melody, I'll sometimes drop out the fancier notes and just focus on the bare bones and then move that bare bones up high, down low, across the strings. Sometimes I get fancier. Sometimes I throw chords in, simple chords, maybe fancy ones. I like to do what this instrument is really good at. It kind of, the wrong notes are not there, which means when we wander a little bit, it tends to be musical wandering. I love to sit on a porch and just play and not be stressed out about how I'm supposed to play. I like to just see what comes out. My passion is showing you guys how you can do this too. And you can make it all real cool, but you can also make it simple and soothing. Here's a quick little example. I'm going to pick a tune I haven't thought about. How about Old MacDonald Had a Farm, right? Like, if I can make that a little bit interesting, that might be a little bit interesting. Old MacDonald Had a Farm. I wish I'd picked another one. Let's see. Usually when I just improvise like this, I start simple. And then as I get into it, I like to do something different. One more. What could I do? Now, in order to do all that, which granted may not be the most interesting thing in the world, I have to be familiar with where can I play melodies on here. How can I use the right and left hand to make things smooth or purposely choppy? How can I add simple chording, fancy chording? How can I just throw in a neat little riff or a lick? So that's a lot of how I teach. So I hope to see you at QuaranTune 9.0, February 2nd through the 5th. Go to virtualdulcimerfest.com to register. If you've got any questions, you can contact me at steven@stevenseifert.com, and that's on my website, stevenseifert.com. See you soon.